İyi akşamlar. Admittance Education adına Yeşim Erez. Hepinize hoş geldiniz. Türkiye'de olanlar için geç saatte bize katıldığınız için teşekkürler. Bizim çok heyecanlı olduğumuz bir opsiyon liberal arts okullarında mühendislik programları var bazılarında ve belirmeye başladı bazılarında. Onun için bunu kesinlikle öğrenmemiz lazım. With that, I'll just turn it over to our first speaker, who I think will be Susie, right? Hanks from Union College. So you
Yeah,
should.
so first of all, welcome everyone. Jade and I are so excited to be introducing liberal arts colleges that offer engineering and extensive STEM opportunities. I think we're both very passionate about all that these colleges provide for their students. And so what we are going to do is give a brief introduction of each of our colleges, talking about what we feel are some of the advantages of studying engineering, specifically in a liberal arts setting. And then we will be happy to open it up for questions at the end. My name's Susie Hanks. I'm from Union College. I have been at Union. This is the start of my 17th year. I have been working in college admissions for I think it's 42 years now. So have worked at two different schools, both of which offered engineering. So I'm very familiar with studying engineering in college. So I just want to talk to you a little about Union, give a brief overview of our college, and then I will pass it along to Jade, who will tell you a little about Lafayette. I will say at the beginning, you will hear a lot of the same things being said about our two schools because we are about the same size and we do offer engineering and we are liberal arts colleges. There are some differences, but we hope that you'll come out of this session with just understanding the big benefits of being at a liberal arts college. So Union College was founded in 1795, so we are in our third century. We have been around a long time. We are located in Schenectady, New York. So we are in New York State, but not in New York City. We are about 3 hours from New York City, 3 hours from Boston, and 3 hours from Montreal, Canada. So we're about halfway up in New York State, if you're familiar with the state. We have 2,100 students, all undergraduates, so we do not have any graduate students at Union. And what makes this special is that all classes at Union are taught by the professors. You will not have graduate students teaching anything, including labs or any sort of recitation programs are all taught by the professors. And I think that's one of the highlights of being at a undergraduate liberal arts institution is that students really do have that connection with the faculty. Our faculty, a student to faculty ratio is just 9 to 1. So you're, in small classes and the professors definitely get to know you. One of the things that I appreciate most about Union is that the relationships students develop with their professors are truly lifelong relationships. I was talking to a Union alum yesterday and she was telling me how she invited her faculty advisor to her wedding. I'm thinking, boy, I don't think I would have done that, but it just goes to prove how close that relationship was. We have students from about 40 states, probably 43 states now, I think it is, and about 55 different countries. We're about 10% international students, just to give you some background there. At Union, we have over 65 undergraduate majors and minors. And one of the things that I think is really important to note is that probably 3/4 of our students are pursuing more than one academic discipline. And this includes our engineering and STEM students. So this is the type of environment where a student who's interested in electrical engineering but also has an interest in music can pursue those things. Or someone who is interested in mechanical engineering and economics can pursue both things. And I think that really spells out what the advantage of a liberal arts institution is, that you have this flexibility to pursue many different academic programs. We have students who double major. We have students who major with minors. We have interdisciplinary programs. So lots of flexibility and something that I think the students truly appreciate. We have 6 engineering disciplines at Union, and these are all ABET accredited engineering. So if you're familiar with engineering programs in the US, you really want to look for ABET accreditation of the engineering programs, because that means that the students have pretty strict number of classes, projects that they have to complete, any sort of capstone program. They really have some strict guidelines as to how this program is set up. And it would be an ABET accredited engineering program at Union or at Lafayette is the same that you would find at a University of Michigan or a Purdue, very large institutions. We're having to follow those same guidelines. So that's what you want to look at when you're considering engineering programs at any school in the US. We also have certainly extensive STEM opportunities, which are important. I have to say that when I put up a small school environment with big school facilities, I stole that from our Dean of Engineering. He kind of makes that known at Union that that's what he feels Union does. So in last year's US News and World Report, Union was number 23 in undergraduate engineering programs. And we were number 3 in best science labs. So the facilities are there for the students. We have a new building being built right now, which will be space for biomedical and environmental engineering. In recent years, we received a major gift from Rich Templeton, which I will show you a video of in a couple minutes. And that allowed us to build the integrated science and engineering building that opened right during COVID. Actually, it was new for a long time because none of the students were here during COVID. So anyway, so we have great facilities that way. But I want to emphasize that instrumentation is really key in a liberal arts institution. Our professors are all doing research. They're getting National Science Foundation grants or grants from NASA. They're really doing high-end research. And because of that, the instrumentation that they're bringing in is very strong. And as an undergraduate school, our undergraduates are using these facilities and these instruments. And I think that really emphasizes that when students graduate from Union, they have been exposed to the equipment and things like that they will be asked to use in industry or in graduate programs that they will be entering. As I said, research is big. 80% of our students do research. Although your students will already be studying abroad, I would tell you that a large percentage of our international students study abroad in someplace different from their home country. And I have to emphasize that 60% of our engineering students are also able to study abroad. And that's really special for them that they have that flexibility built into the program. And it's because we're on a trimester or a 3-term calendar. I also just want to emphasize that Union students have been extremely successful in obtaining OPT programming or opportunities after graduation. And obviously, if students are in a STEM or an engineering field, they typically will have an extended OPT, so a 2 or 3-year OPT program. So students have done very well that way. I am going to play you this short video. It's just of Rich Templeton, who is a Union alum. He was the CEO of Texas Instruments. So if anyone has purchased a wonderful Texas Instrument calculator, thank you, because he provided a lot of funding for us. So hopefully this will play. Okay. Is it not? Oh, oh, maybe you can't hear Rich Templeton. Okay, we will tell you what Rich Templeton said at the end of this presentation, but that's Rich Templeton, CEO or former CEO of Texas Instruments. We will then pass that on. Jade looks like she's working on something. But that's a little about Union. As I said, I will pass it on to Jade. She'll tell you a little about Lafayette. Then we'll return to our comments about why liberal arts and why engineering.
Okay, so we'll get back to that because I think I figured out the sound part. So just kind of talking a little bit about Lafayette, just like Susan mentioned earlier in the session, there are a lot of similarities between our two institutions. So I will really just focus on the differences at Lafayette versus Union. We still have those small classes, the easy access to professors, and that mentorship that you'll gain through our faculty. But with Lafayette specifically, we are strictly undergraduate, just like Union is. A little bit bigger, around 2,700 students. We are a big school spirit with a nice size package. And so you are able to, again, have all those opportunities without competing against graduate students or other students in general. Our student to faculty ratio is 10 to 1, with our average class size being around 18 to 20 students. One of the fun things that our professors really try to focus on is understanding and getting to know each of our students. So even our largest class, which is Intro to Psychology, our professors have a goal of remembering every student's name by the end of the second week of classes. And these students really like to have a lot of fun. They'll switch up their seats. They'll try to really trick the professor. But that's something that's really important to us because we really value each student in our classrooms and we want to ensure that they will succeed after Lafayette. We are Division I in 23 varsity teams, so that is something that's a little unique to us. We're among the smaller liberal arts schools that is Division I. So when you're thinking about like football or soccer, depending on what you're thinking about, we also have like rugby or lacrosse or tennis or field hockey. So there's ways that students are able to be an engineering student while also being something else on campus. And that is the beauty is that as a liberal arts school, you have the flexibility to take on different hats, to explore different opportunities, and to try something new. We're roughly around about 50 plus areas of study, as you can see there, roughly about a 50-50 male-female split, with around 26% of our students who self-identify as students of color. On average, the campus community is typically around 7 to 10% international students. We are sitting around 7% right now, where 12% of our students are first generation college. The other thing is that when you apply to Lafayette, you're just applying to get into the school. So when you're thinking about engineering, students can identify an engineering major, but they can also do undecided or undecided engineering and have that flexibility to figure out which specific sector of engineering they want to major in by the end of their first year. Then their classes will start to specialize in their second to third to fourth year at Lafayette. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that within engineering, we have very similar class opportunities and research that Susie mentioned at Union. We do have 7 majors in engineering, but the most unique thing about Lafayette Engineering is our integrative engineering major. Integrative engineering is just as rigorous, just as structured as chemical engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering. But the difference is that the integrative engineering major allows students that a little bit academic flexibility to focus in a specific area of study. For instance, bioengineering, robotics, or environmental and energy are 3 focuses that students can really hone in on, can really concentrate on, while also still having that ABET accreditation, while also being able to study abroad and have all the other rights and privileges as an engineering student. We just received our ABET accreditation for the integrative engineering major, so we've already had 4 years have already gone through this program, and so now we're excited to announce that we are ABET accredited. So now all of our engineering programs are ABET accredited. The other thing is that we were listed on the U.S. News Report as the 18th best undergraduate engineering program. So again, thinking about those small classes that are easy, accessible to your faculty members to work on projects to really hone in on that collaboration. Another unique thing about Lafayette Engineering is that we do not have co-ops. Co-ops are something that really pause the students' academic kind of timeline, and that's not something we want to do. Rather, students will take advantage of either the classroom time or also breaks to really dive in deeply into the fields that they're really interested in. Through research, through different internships or job shadowing opportunities, students are able to identify what sector of engineering they want to pursue, but also really start to grow their network. As an engineering student, you are entered into ES 101. So we don't even start with that chemical engineering or electrical. We start with systems design thinking. Our pedagogy is really focused on how, as an engineer, you can solve any problems based on how you approach that problem. Systems design thinking allows individuals to really take on the different resources that they have available and to figure out a way to best solve the problem with human focus first and the solution afterwards. So how can we best support individuals? How can we best better their life or maybe make things a little bit easier for them? So we approach it with a systems design thinking approach, but also really focusing on that human element that is really important to us. And then the last thing about unique about Lafayette Engineering is that we do have the Hansen Center for Inclusive STEM Education. So you're really thinking about international students, female engineers, underrepresented areas of individuals where they gain additional resources and support in the STEM fields. STEM fields for us at Lafayette also include psychology and economics through the STEM OPT. So that's something that you can also explore as an engineering student. The Hansen Center is something that's open to everybody. And so even if you don't engage with them until maybe your second or third year, you're still able to really take advantage of that. So with that being said, I am going to try to show this video again, and then we will kind of wrap up from there. So give me 1
Jade,
second.
okay.
Hopefully this will work this time.
Yeah, I had an opportunity
here?
serving on the Engineering Advisory Committee for President Harris to literally talk to alumni from what turned out to be 5 decades. So the 70s all the way through the 2010s. And through all those discussions, and it was exactly what I felt as well, what you heard, while the words were different, the theme was very consistent. I came out with a rigorous foundation in engineering or computer science. Okay, I knew how to communicate, I knew how to work in teams, and I had a broader perspective beyond just the engineering problem I was facing at that time. And in many cases that led to early leadership opportunities. And I think that's all attributed to, that unique blend of Union's experience.
Thanks, Jade.
Beautiful. Alrighty, friends. And then all right, so just to recap a little bit about the video, we're really trying to focus on the benefit of attending a liberal arts school with the focus of engineering. And so as you saw in the video, you're learning more than just the content in the classroom, but you're really learning how to collaborate, how to seek out leadership, how to really communicate in different ways and also in different platforms as well. As an engineering individual, you may be able to communicate with colleagues who know exactly what you're talking about, but you're also going to have to communicate that problem to policy individuals, to individuals who are not familiar with the verbiage that you are well versed in. And so even just being able to work on your intra and interpersonal skills is really important as an engineer. And Susie, feel free to add in anything else you want to mention.
No, and I just think that, you have those opportunities of leadership, of, understanding different perspectives, both from the classes, but also just from the interactions that you have with other students. So, at both schools, the engineering students are going to be in class with the students who are majoring in economics and political science and the language and philosophy. And people will be looking at problems and situations from very different perspectives, but you learn from those different perspectives. And I think that's one of the reasons that the engineering students and STEM students coming out of both of our schools are so successful and do move into leadership roles, because they do know how to communicate. They do know how to work as a team. So I think that truly is a benefit. One of the things I realized that neither Jade and I talked about was the admissions process. So I was thinking maybe we should just touch base on that.
Yeah.
So as Jade said, and Union's the same way, when you're applying to a liberal arts college, even if you're interested in engineering, you're applying to the college. You are not applying into a specific academic program. And so it really does allow our students to explore and test out things. So you can be in those introductory classes at Lafayette or Union that will kind of focus on engineering, but that point, if you decide, oh, this isn't what I want, I just want math, I just want physics, you have the flexibility to switch. And at Union, and I'll let Jade answer this, at Union, our engineering students do declare their major at the end of the first year. Everyone else has until the end of the second year, but anyone can pick up a minor at any point along the way over the 4 years. So I think Jade's nodding, so I think that's similar at Lafayette. So you do have that flexibility and you have that. The other thing that is important to note, and I'll let Jade respond as far as Lafayette's policy. At Union, we do meet 100% of the demonstrated financial need of all students who are admitted to Union. Students would get a combination of grant and then some stipend for working on campus, so they could earn some money for the international students. We also offer merit scholarships, and any student who applies for admission is considered for a merit award. So that is not there's no special deadline. You don't have to write additional essays or anything like that. Everyone is considered. So that is just part of our admissions process. Jay, do you want to add anything that's different?
I was going to say, I'm going to echo everything you said. We are also a school that you do not admit based on major. When you apply, you're automatically considered for our merit scholarships. And one thing I do want to add is that Lafayette specifically does track demonstrated interest. So attending a virtual session such as today or attending an interview is really important to us. That is a factor we take into consideration with regards to the decision of the student. That's a huge factor when it comes to merit considerations. As your Turkish rep, I do not nominate students for merit scholarships without an interview. It is so competitive for our full tuition and our half tuition scholarship that I need a little bit extra of interest from the student to really identify those students who are great candidates for our merit scholarship. The last thing I want to add, which I think Susie is also with Union, is that we're test optional. So you do not have to submit your test scores if you do not wish to. If you look on our websites, the test scores are going to look inflated because typically students who perform well will submit their scores versus students who don't will not submit their scores. It's a personal choice. We are a school that will accept self-reported test scores and super score. So if you want to submit every test scores, feel free to. There's not a huge lift for us, but if you do not submit your test scores, then everything else in your application just has a little bit more weight. So it's not that we prefer that, but it's just whatever is convenient and what the student wants to do in that regard. And then, sorry, I keep saying lastly. The last thing I want to mention is that while there's no specific requirements for the engineering majors or the STEM majors at Lafayette, and I would assume with Union, we are looking for students who are doing well in your math and science courses. We want to see that you are not only challenging yourselves with the rigor, but you're performing well as well. And so if you are someone who wants to try out different courses in addition to engineering, that is totally fine. If you're someone who's like, I'm just going to focus all of my academics in engineering or the STEM fields, that is also fine. But if you indicate engineering or something STEM on your application, we will look at those classes to see if that you're prepared for the curriculum that we offer at our school. Majority of times you will have to take some courses again or in a different level, depending on what you test into, and that's through placement exams. I think I covered. Yes, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to, also say that I just lost my train of thought. You said something and I was going to echo it. Oh, the Union does also offer interviews, virtual interviews, and we'd love to get to know you a little closer in that process. The other thing that is, if English is not your first language and you wanted to submit an English language proficiency exam, at Union, we accept Duolingo, TOEFL, and IELTS, and all the minimums are on our website, so I won't go into those. But if you are in a IB program, or if you're in a program where you're studying in English, that requirement can be waived. So there is a form on our application that does that.
Same. Alrighty, folks. So now we're going to move on to see if you folks have any questions for us.
There's one on, I think this has been answered, but I'll read it anyway. They were curious about the types of scholarships, but I think you've both touched upon that at this point. Do you have Turkish students? Let's ask that. And then we were chatting a little bit about this beforehand, and how are they performing? How are they thriving? And, what kind of culture are they in?
We do have Turkish students on our campus. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but what I can say is that they are blending beautifully on our campus.
Mhm.
As an international student, we do invite them to come to campus before orientation so that they are able to get just accustomed to American culture, understand what Wawa is, because that's really important to us, amongst other things that are just kind of common and intuitive for a lot of our domestic students. Then they'll jump into orientation, which the entire first year class will join as well. And then the first day of classes. We have an orientation program called LEOs, so that orientation leader will follow that student throughout their first year to help them get acclimated to the campus, to help answer questions, be a friend to go to the theater shows or join for lunch. So you do have that scaffolding and that support. Our Turkish students on campus do blend really well. They get involved in so many different things. I mean, right now, I'm thinking about Tuna, who is the electrical and computer engineering major, who gets involved in data science club, who's an ambassador for us, who's also very passionate about starting his own project and doing entrepreneurship. So he is a Dyer Fellow for us, which means that he's someone who wants to start his own business. And through the Dyer Fellowship, he's able to get additional resources and funding to kickstart that business. So I would say that if you're a student who's really eager to get involved, who's open-minded about trying new things at either one of our campuses, you're going to blend really well.
Mhm.
And I know that we have, I know at least one Turkish student. Like Jade, don't know the exact number, majoring in mechanical engineer. So again, on the engineering side, I would say our international students are involved with everything. Some are on the tennis team, some are in the dance program, some are singing in the choir or in the theater program, some are writing for the newspaper. So it's both of our schools, I think, are the type of environment. We're small, so you know a lot of people, and the international students certainly bond together during orientation and really want to support each other. There's a club called World Around You, which allows our international students to kind of congregate and kind of support each other. But they're so integrated into everything that's going on campus that you don't have to just be in that. And so I think that's really beneficial. The one thing, another thing, I shouldn't say the one thing, another thing that neither Jade or I mentioned. So at Union, you are guaranteed housing all 4 years. So it's a very residential environment where students are actively engaged in what's going on campus or in the community surrounding us. So it's really something that the students are completely involved with campus from day one. And that's really fun to see. And I'm sure your percentages are probably very similar.
We have a couple questions came in from the same area, but may I delineate this further because both institutions are liberal arts. So what is the ratio of students? So, and then separately, can we answer the same question for engineering in particular? But the first question, let's keep it general. Percentage of students going on to higher levels of like graduate and PhD, as opposed to a non-liberal arts option. Let's start with that, and then they're asking the question specific to engineering students, but let me do it that way.
So
So,
tradition, yeah. So traditionally, we
yeah.
have about 95% of our students within 6 months of graduation have a plan for the coming year. Typically, it's about 70% are going directly into a job, and that would include those international students who are doing OPT after graduation. We typically have about 23 or 24% who are going directly into graduate programs, and that is law school, health professions, master's programs, but also PhD programs. And I want to highlight that so many of our students, and I bet Jade will say the same thing, so many of our students, because of the research opportunities that they have received as an undergraduate, are really very strong candidates for top graduate programs. We have students in engineering at Michigan, at Purdue, at Harvard, and you really see that what they've done as an undergraduate is very special in the application process. The other thing that I want to mention is because you develop such strong relationships with your professors,
Yeah.
professors, when students are applying to graduate schools, are very pointed as to what graduate programs the students should be applying to, and can write very meaningful recommendations for those students, because it's not like, oh, yes, I had the student in this one class and they earned an A in my class, but the professor doesn't really know them. This student has worked in my lab for 3 years and this is all that they've done, and they've co-authored a paper with me and blah, blah, blah, blah, blah. And that's really impressive to a graduate program. So our students are really being served very well by the undergraduate program, getting them into top graduate programs. Jade?
I would echo the same thing. Unofficially, so officially, 97% of our students are employed within 6 months of graduation. Unofficially, I would estimate around 20 to 25, just like Union, will go straight to graduate school, but the rest of them will go straight into the workforce after graduation. Similar to Union, when you think about our graduate schools, you're thinking about Carnegie Mellon, Columbia, Johns Hopkins, New York University of Engineering, University of Toronto. So again, great schools for graduate programs, but majority of them will go straight into the workforce.
You made such important points. Here's a case where I know everybody here speaks really good English. They're asking their questions in English, but let me say that in Turkish too. I
Yes.
just want to make sure this söyledikleri şey şu, benim hep anlattığım liberal arts'la ilgili. Bu okullarda hem hocalarınızı çok iyi tanıyorsunuz, çünkü duydunuz, teachers assistant'lar değil profesörler ders veriyordu. Onlarla beraber araştırma yapabiliyorsunuz. Onun için lisans sonrası programlara başvurduğunuzda tavsiyelerinizi o profesörler yazacak. Ve notu çok iyiydi demeyecek, çünkü gerçekten tanıyacak öğrencimizi. Yazın araştırma yaptık. Benimle bir paper publish etti, işte neşretti. Bu işte PhD'lik ya da master'lık materyaldir diye yazacak. İkincisi, o araştırma imkanları bu okullarda gerçekten diğer okul tiplerinden karşılaştırılamayacak kadar olumlu olabiliyor. Anlattıkları şey o, ikisinde. Onu bir de Türkçe söylemek istedim. I'm sorry. And back to you. So, oh, we have folks joining still. And then they were asking if you have industry partnerships or graduate school pathways for STEM students.
I would say that our Gateway Career Center, our counselors work with each student individually.
Mhm.
So we don't have established kind of pathways directly into employment in that sense, because every student may want to be not in the as may not want to be on the East Coast. They may want to be on the West Coast. They may want to work for a specific organization. So we work with each student individually. But when you're thinking about top employers for engineering, you're thinking about Air Products, Boeing, Tesla, General Electric, DuPont, Lockheed Martin, the US Army. So it just depends on where the student wants to end after graduation, but they'll meet with their Gateway Career Counselor to start them on that path.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's similar at Union. I mean, we certainly have a very active career center. They post jobs and certainly have relationships with many companies and corporations. I also want to emphasize, though, that we have a very strong alumni connection for the students. So we have probably 14,000 Union alumni who are willing to talk with students about their career paths. And I'm sure, like Lafayette, our Career Center hosts a job fair every fall, so that students can talk to employers about internships as well as permanent jobs after graduation. And I know Jade mentioned that many of their students will be exposed to different job opportunities through internships. So that is certainly encouraged at Union, because to be exposed to those types of things will allow you to understand, what do you really want to do after graduation?
Yeah. These are really good questions we're getting. Maybe I'll throw one in, but I may be misinformed, so I'll just try you. But with all the policy changes we've seen in the last 6 months or so, I'm guessing, I was looking at the endowment taxation and stuff. I think smaller schools are in a better position to maintain their research funding. Can we talk to that? Because I don't think Turkish parents are aware of this. I think we might, I would like to tell them that.
Yes.
Would you agree with what I said, though?
Yes, and I've been talking about this ad nauseum to my Indian parents as well. So
So we should
when
tell the
you're
Turkish
thinking it,
parents this too. It's really
When you're
important.
thinking about the federal government currently right now, the policies that are in place are really targeted to specific types of institutions. Those types of institutions are really their main revenue or their main financial support is through the federal government or through these grants and scholarship that the schools are really relying on.
Mhm.
You're also looking at schools that have a larger international population. And so, again, the federal government is really kind of putting a lens on that. The beauty of attending a small liberal arts school like Union and Lafayette is that we are there for our students. We know each student that is coming in, and we will provide you that support from picking you up at the airport to the day you walk across the stage at graduation. We are there for our students. We will fight for our students, and we know how to help our students. If we need to maybe defer their enrollment till the spring semester or maybe help them find an opportunity during their gap period, that's something that we will help our students with. You're talking about the type of experience at a larger institution is going to be very impacted by what's happening federally. But at the smaller schools, we are not being that impacted. We are financially healthy because we have a diverse revenue stream from various areas. And we also don't have a huge population of international students where it gets overwhelming for us. But we are very privileged to be in this specific situation where we can support our international students.
It's an
Susie,
advantage.
feel free to add.
Yeah.
No, that's why I was nodding. I was just nodding, nodding, nodding.
Let me nod in Turkish too, because I really
Yes.
want them to hear this. This is just so nothing gets lost in translation. Siz anladınız ama şöyle ben okullara bakarken zaten haberlerde görüyorsunuz bazı okulları belli tipte okulları target ediyor şu anki hükümet Amerika'da. Biz de bundan zaten çekindiğimiz için stratejiler adapte etmek zorunda kalıyoruz. Ama bu daha ufak olan okullar ki bu konuştuğumuz müesseseler dahil aynı şeylere maruz değiller. Onların durumu avantajlı. Öğrenciler açısından kaynakları daha az etkileniyor ve daha az yabancı öğrenci olduğu için onlara gerçekten odaklanıp gereken şahsi dikkati verebiliyorlar ve yardım edebiliyorlar. Bence ikisi arasında çok büyük fark olacak. Bundan sonraki bir iki sene bu okulların bazı avantajları var diyeceğim. Thank you. Those were we were getting good questions. Are there any more other questions? I mean, I think one thing about liberal arts institutions is they're not liberal, they're not arts.
Yes.
It's a philosophy. We should just change the name so there's no confusion. Oh, okay. How the interviews work. They want to know how application, after application, before decision, is it optional?
Mhm.
How do interviews work with you?
So at Union, interviews are optional but recommended. We love to get to know the student a little more than what we see on an application. Application, we see lots of lists, but we don't know what really turns a student on or what special programs they are very involved with. Interviews are already taking place, and so we will interview all the way through until the end of January for the students who are in their last year of secondary school now. It doesn't matter if you interview before your application or after your application. Just make sure that you interview before decisions are made. So if you're applying early decision or early action at Union, those decisions are made either early December or early January. So if you're applying under one of those plans, I would say interview in the next couple weeks or maybe a couple months. If you're applying regular decision, those decisions are not made or finalized until the end of February. So you have a little more time to do those interviews.
I would say the same for us is that they are optional, but especially for our international students, I would recommend you do an interview. It's a great way for us to get to know you beyond your application, to have that type of one-on-one connection, and for us to answer any questions that you may have about our specific institution. I would caution folks to do interviews sooner than later because, as Susie mentioned, their interviews will wrap up at the end of January. We wrap up at the in the middle of January. But you can imagine that in November and December, people are frantically trying to find interview slots, and there's only so many people available to conduct these interviews. So if you are seriously considering one of our institutions, I would recommend you interview sooner than later. If you interview before you submit your application, that's totally fine. We will match that up with your application once you apply, so you don't have to worry about that. But again, it's a great way to kind of showcase who you are as an individual. Our interviews are max 25, 30 minutes, so they're not meant to be very long. They're not interrogating you. It's just really a conversation.
I've got one asked privately that I'll add here. Oh, a couple questions. I'll go with this one that came in on the shared group. You don't have, it says Union College does not have chemical engineering, and they didn't hear whether Lafayette has chemical engineering. You do
We have chemical engineering.
have
Yeah.
chemical engineering. Another question had come in around early decision. If your
Mhm.
institution offers it, how would you compare contrast for families and students in the room? Would you recommend that they do it? And,
I'm of the philosophy that you should not apply to an early decision school just to do it for strategic purposes. I do not support that at all. Now, if you find an institution and you're really excited about them, absolutely apply early decision. That could be a really great way to show that demonstrate interest and that eagerness to that school.
Mhm.
For us, when a student is interested in early decision, and particularly when finances are kind of an it's a factor, which we understand. We will do an early financial aid read for those early decision students. Now,
Okay.
we ask for all the financial aid documents, which for international students will include the CSS profile.
Mhm.
You will have to submit the CSS profile. We ask that you do an online net price calculator on our website because it'll generate a general financial aid package. And then you can meet with a financial aid advisor one-on-one, and they'll actually tell you grants, scholarships, loans, and all that fun stuff that families want to know about. And we will give you a very good estimate. It's not the exact estimate, but it is a very good estimate so families can make a decision whether they want to apply early decision to Lafayette or not. We also offer early decision too. Same thing as ED1, just a later deadline in case you've missed the ED1 deadline.
Yep.
So at Union, we also have two deadlines. November 1st is ED1 and January 15th is ED2. I would encourage students, if you have investigated different colleges and keep coming back to the same school, that's a great reason to then apply early decision, that it meets all your academic interests, it meets what you're looking for as far as culture on campus and things like that. Certainly early decision, we admit at a higher percentage than regular decision or early action. So it is beneficial for the student if you know for sure.
Yeah.
With financial aid at Union, our net price calculator actually does not calculate well for international students. So we don't encourage students to do that because it's not going to provide you with a great information. But if you do apply early decision and the financial aid package just doesn't meet the need or your perceived need, that is the one time that we will release students from the early decision commitment.
I'll say one thing around the CSS for the parents in the room. We work with parents who work with us on the CSS. We do a main session and a presentation in September because it can be quite confusing for international parents because the terminology is so different. And the CSS, forgive me, College Board, or don't forgive me, it's very US-centric and it's
Yes.
really confusing for parents. So yeah. You can ask us if you really need to consult somebody on the CSS. I would encourage you to. Um,
Can I just say that I filled out the CSS profile for my own daughters, and
yeah,
even if
sure.
you are in a US citizen, it is
Yeah.
confusing. So don't feel badly if you don't understand the questions.
No, but the
I do want to say one other thing, that for our merit scholarships, you are considered the same way whether you apply early decision, early action, or regular decision. So if you're applying early decision, you would still get the same merit scholarship as if you applied other ways.
thank you. That's that's awesome. Well, we've
Can I
got
add just one more thing?
yeah.
Um, I've heard this when I was traveling in India. One thing to consider is that if you are really excited about a school, applying early decision will allow you more time to get your I-20, to get your documents, to get your visa in time for the semester to start. The other thing is don't delay on getting your visa, your appointments, and your I-20. So even if you do apply regular decision to these types of institutions, majority of us will give you your decision by end of March, early April. So once you have made your decision on a school, get your
Oh,
appointments, get your I-20s, get all that started. We cannot predict what's going to happen in the next 6 to 8 months. But if you do things early, our hope is that it'll give you more time for any hiccups or anything else that comes along. So just letting you know that that could be a good factor for students who just want a little bit more time for their visas. Um, and then the other thing, oh my gosh, I completely blank now about applying early decision. Okay, I can't remember, but I hope I'll bring it up when I remember it.
just to compound, what you said, we told the same thing to students last year, anticipating what was going to happen. Um, Hurry up. Like, don't wait
Yeah,
till May 1st till you have to deposit. Seriously,
yes.
just go. And we told everyone, and only one person didn't listen. And they're starting a few months late, but still okay.
Yeah.
But everybody else was okay.
Mhm.
Oh, I do remember. Once you accepted a school that you're attending, stay in contact with them because we will contact you about your I-20. We'll contact you about everything else that you need to do. And we just faced this over the summer where I had an Indian student who didn't read any of my emails up until the very first day of classes. And now they're going to join us in the spring because they haven't gotten their visa appointment in time. So just make sure that if you have visa issues, if there are hiccups along the way, let us know. Maybe there are ways that we can help you, we can support you, and we can help you through this, or to help troubleshoot as well. Again, this is the beauty of going to a smaller school is that we are able to help our students individually through the entire process.
Thank you.
I will just add to that, not even just after you have decided what school you're going to. All colleges in the US, at least now, give you access to your student portal, your applicant portal. So you'll be
Yes.
able to see if any documents or anything is missing from your application. So I really encourage you, once we give you the access to the portal, check it. You don't have to check it every day, but every once in a while, check it to make sure that we have everything that we need to make a decision.
Yeah. Good point.
Actually, through the application process, if you've applied to several schools, put them all on one chart and go back to it a couple times a week.
Yep.
Yes.
They're not going to email you. Sorry. Thank you for all this wisdom. This has been great. If there are other questions, we can take them, but this has been a really informative session. Maybe I can just throw one question out. You've tried to delineate the differences, but um, for like what type of student is best suited for Union and what type of student, just we're talking culturally, is suited better for Lafayette? Like, do you think we can delineate a tiny bit? No?
Geez, I'm not sure.
The
I'm,
Ballpark?
only
yeah, go ahead, Jade, if you
the
can think of
only
something.
The only difference I see is
Yeah.
that if you're someone who is into like sports culture, we're
Yes.
Division One.
Okay.
Um, that is
Yeah,
like the biggest
Yeah.
difference amongst us.
right.
But yeah,
And we're Division 3, although there's a big sports culture. We're Division 1 in men's and women's ice hockey, so that's very, very big. So yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with both schools. And my brother went to Lafayette, so I'm very familiar with both schools, and I went to Lafayette's arch rival. There are very there are we're very similar. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I can't say that there is a cultural difference at
Okay.
either school. We both are residential. We both have great, strong sense of communities, a lot of school spirit, broad range of academic programs, lots of opportunities for students, close knit, connections. Yeah, I would not be surprised if you were to look at both schools and apply to both schools. That would not
Yeah,
surprise me for the
no.
students who are considering small and engineering.
That's a good
Mhm.
point too. But if you want to be known, if you want your instructors to know you, your friends to know you, and you're going to feel at home and feel safe, I think these are amazing environments for STEM and engineering students even. So, um, thank you for joining us today.
Well, this has been fun for us, I think.
Thank you.
And please reach out to either one of us if you have any
Mhm.
questions. I know our students would love to communicate with, students, international students or students who are studying engineering or in the STEM fields. Our Dean of Engineering, I promise you, if you have a question, he will be happy to answer that question for you. So please just make sure that this conversation does not end if you have additional questions for either of our schools.
Yeah.
In the same vein, on behalf of Admittance Education, this is a pitch to Jade and Susie. Also, like if you come to Turkey, look us up. I'm sometimes
Absolutely.
in California, but sometimes in Turkey, and some of the team here is in Turkey. So just look us up and um, come visit us.
We will certainly do
Absolutely.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night or afternoon, depending on your location. All right. Bye.
Bye.